Hey everybody, Teacher Nikki here, and I'm talking with you guys about ESL strategies. This is my fourth video, and I plan to do many more. My last video was about shared reading, and today we're going to be talking about Read Aloud Plus. I actually recorded this video 2 times, and it would not save. So hopefully this third time it's going to save and be okay. I think what was happening was the microphone I was using was not, there was some kind of glitch with it and it would kind of like disrupt the video. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. Let's talk about Read Aloud Plus. So this is very similar to the type of guided reading that I used to do with my students who were middle school students. And what Read Aloud Plus is you, the teacher, are reading to the students, and it's really good to do this with more difficult text. It might be slightly above their zone of proximal development, which is like that area of challenge where it pushes them to the next level. And the reason that you want to do this, there's so many good reasons for it. So number one is that they're hearing you and they're learning what it sounds like to be fluent in English, and they're able to follow along so that they can see the text and hear how the words are pronounced. You do not have to read everything all together. In fact, the point is to stop and interrupt and talk about different parts of the text. You want to talk about the parts that are more difficult. You want to ask questions, check for comprehension, teach difficult vocabulary, use visuals. And I'm just going to check my book here because they talk about, and if you didn't know, you guys, I've been using this book or referencing this book when I do these videos. These are all different strategies that I personally have used. I didn't even know that they were in this book before, that they were all like compiled in this book before. The strategies that I used when I was like a middle school ESL teacher, and I still use a lot of them teaching online, but those strategies I learned from my colleagues or from doing, what do you call it, like not conferences, workshops, from doing workshops with ESL experts, and yeah, mostly all from work. So I didn't know they were all compiled in this one place. But anyway, so you can use realia while you're doing this. You can paraphrase, have the students paraphrase or summarize what they've read or heard or listened to. And then of course they can like rewrite and illustrate as a, what do you call it, like an activity to do afterwards. So it's a great option to do so many different things and just using literacy in more than one way, because you're going to incorporate obviously the reading, but you can incorporate writing, you can incorporate speaking, and have them practice in all those different ways. And then they can of course do like compare and contrast, or have them use an organizer. When they talked about doing illustrations, this is something that I do online still, and I've done in the past when I was a brick and mortar teacher, but I'll talk to you guys about this strategy. So when you can do like a little comic, I think that's like the best thing ever, because you're gonna see how much the student really comprehended from the story, and you can have them kind of focus on the really important parts of whatever they read. Maybe it's not a story, maybe it's an article. So what you do is you can go through, it depends on how many pages there are, but you can go through and have them draw the main idea and write a sentence about the main idea of all the pages, or just specific pages, important parts. You focus on whatever you want it to be. But that is like one of the best ways to really check for comprehension, because it's fun for them. It doesn't feel like a ton of work, and they enjoy it. And you're getting to see like, can they write a sentence using correct grammar? Can they did they comprehend? Are they using correct spelling? Like, you're going to see so many different things when you do that. And I always tell people about this when I do trainings online. I think I've mentioned it before. I have had to have mentioned it somewhere in an old video before too. So again, this strategy that we're talking about today is Read Aloud Plus, and that's when you're reading to the students, they listen, and they're learning from your intonation, they're learning from your fluency, they're learning your pronunciation and accent, and how to read with different punctuation. So many great advantages. And then you're pausing to stop, interjecting that dialogue with them, and you're going to teach them throughout the whole thing with visuals and realia and things like that. So that is Read Aloud Plus. Whereas simple, plain old Read Aloud, just simple, regular Read Aloud would be you reading aloud and there's no interruption, there's no pausing, they're just listening. So that's why it's plus. And then I mentioned doing this with my guided reading groups. So with my guided reading groups, it was actually called Guided Reading Plus, and it was by Dr. Dorn. I forget what her first name is, but I'll link it in the description. And she created the Guided Reading Plus model. But the Read Aloud Plus, I'll mention it in the description as well, who created that, because I just closed the book. But they're so similar. So anyway, but when I did the Guided Reading Plus, I would have so much success with the students. So that's really why I decided to talk about this, because in my last video I was kind of like undecided if I was going to use this, but then I realized that this strategy is a lot different than I think it was the shared reading I was talking about, and you can really impact your students' literacy with the Read Aloud Plus or the Guided Reading Plus. Guided reading is smaller group, but it's like the exact same idea. You may not interrupt as much, but when you're doing guided reading, you might spend like 15 minutes reading and then 10 minutes doing comprehension checking, talking about vocabulary. So it's a little bit more divided up, whereas the Read Aloud Plus, it's more kind of chunking it up. You're chunking up the reading, then interrupting, reading, interrupting. Whereas the Guided Reading Plus, it is reading, and then afterwards you do the question part. I also did vocabulary lessons before the reading. So I would do vocabulary, kind of front load is what we call it, front load vocabulary, do the reading, comprehension questions, and they would have to write their answers. So writing was a huge part of it too, because that's part of increasing their comprehension and helping them with grammar and helping them with spelling and really giving them that chance to think about what they wanted to say, which is really important for English language learners. So you guys, I think I've talked a lot about guided reading and Read Aloud Plus. So I would love to know, as I'm doing this series, you guys, if you have any questions about teaching English language learners or anything that you want me to include on my channel, I'm always open to your suggestions, what you need help with. But I have next on my list, I have reciprocal teaching and repetition and innovation. So we'll be getting into those things, and we already did, I think I already did shared reading. I haven't looked at my channel in a minute. But I'll be uploading this either before or after Thanksgiving, although a video is on here forever. But in any case, if you're watching this around Thanksgiving, I hope you have a good one if you celebrate that. And I think that's it. I'll be seeing you guys weekly from here on out. I never choose a specific day to upload just because I have too much going on and can't commit to that. So thank you for bearing with me on being inconsistent on when I upload. But just check my channel weekly and you should see a new video weekly, at least for the next few months while I'm doing this, what do you call it? This ESL strategies challenge. All right, take care. Bye-bye.